Good afternoon and welcome to KC Sports Tonight. I'm Neal Jones alongside former Chief Dezman Moses, and appropriately enough, we're standing outside Arrowhead Stadium because a lot of Chiefs news today. As you can see from your screen there, the top story is that Travis Kelce is reportedly coming back for another season. Dezman, you played against Travis Kelce on defense when he was on the offense with the Chiefs.
Oh, yeah.
He was your friend. He was your teammate. What's your reaction?
This is great news for Kansas City, for Chiefs Kingdom. You're talking about Patrick Mahomes' top weapon throughout the last decade and a real weapon throughout the National Football League. I know he's aging. He's getting up there, 36, 37 years old, but this guy can still play football at a really high level, and Kansas City's lucky to have him back.
The numbers last year are fairly impressive. He played 17 games, didn't miss a game, and that is a critical part of this puzzle. He had 76 catches for 851 yards. He led the Chiefs in receiving. He averaged 12 yards per reception, and the reason that's interesting is that's his career average. Guys, usually that number goes down and down and down. You might be 13, 14 for a year or two when you're in your 20s or 22, 23, 24 years old, but then next thing you know, you're averaging 8.8 yards a carry per reception. It's not a factor. He had 5 touchdowns. He still is he's in the top half of the NFL in receiving.
Absolutely. I mean, you look at the film. You know, you go back. He pass blocked. He ran blocked tremendously, but he's still getting open. He still understands the game. And one thing that he and Patrick Mahomes have in common, they can read the defense together. So it's almost impossible to stop these guys. If you're in zone coverage, Travis Kelce's still a nightmare.
Now, you saw him in the locker room. He was a rookie when you first played with him, obviously, first time he came in. But what kind of a person is he in the locker room? We just read a bunch of stats. I think he's more than just his stats.
Yeah, I mean, you know, this guy's 3-4 time runner-up for Man of the Year. He's a consummate professional on and off the field. He gets guys ready not only for practice, but he understands game time and how to bring that energy, how to shake the nerves of some of the young guys. He knows just what to say, but he's come a long way. His maturity is phenomenal, but his wherewithal for the game. You can't have enough guys like Travis Kelce, and I'm not just talking about in a symbolic form. He's a player, he's a ball player, and he goes out and does it every Sunday.
And there's another piece to this whole picture. Your quarterback, Patrick Mahomes, is going to be coming back off a severe knee injury. We don't know his mobility. We don't know his availability. We don't know when he's going to be able to play. Maybe it'll be the 4th or 5th week of the season. Maybe it'll be week 1. What we do know is when he comes back, you want to give him what he needs. You need to give him protection up front, but you also need to give him guys who he can work with and feel comfortable with. And they always say it, a tight end is a quarterback's security blanket. How important will this decision to come back be for his buddy Patrick Mahomes?
I think it's huge, for a number of reasons. Like you said, tight ends are the easiest, most friendly target for the quarterbacks. They're big, they're strong, they can catch balls over the middle, they can make contested catches. We can go on down the list. Tight ends are important. And I think, having one of the best in the National Football League will be a beautiful safety blanket for Patrick Mahomes, especially his return. He knows where to get the ball to if things get in the jam.
We have talked just informally that you and I over the last couple of weeks about what the Chiefs should do at the 9th spot in the draft. And one thing you and I agreed on is, as great as Jeremiah Love, the running back out of Notre Dame, is, as wonderful a talent as he is, we did not think the Chiefs should go that direction because they have other needs. Yep. Well, today they addressed the running back position by signing free agent Kenneth Walker. He's the Super Bowl MVP. I have to be honest with you, halfway through the season, he was kind of a guy. He was a good running back who didn't catch passes very much, not a great pass blocker, but he was okay. Then the last 6 or 7 games of this season, including the Super Bowl, this guy went nuts. He's in his 4th year last year, and he went off in the Super Bowl. 27 carries, 135 yards. That's 5 yards a carry. 2 catches for 26 yards. That's 29 touches, 161 yards. For a team that really needed to run the football, he was able to do it. The Chiefs are getting him. What's your reaction?
Yeah, I love it. He split the load a lot of the year with Charbonnet, 2 really good running backs. Charbonnet went down and he had to carry the load of being the primary running back, and he did just that. You talked about it. In the Super Bowl, this guy went off. And as a defender, watching the tape, this guy jumps off the film. He doesn't just make guys miss. He embarrasses guys.
We know that Andy Reid wants to throw the ball first. As long as Patrick Mahomes is around and he's healthy, Patrick Mahomes and this offense offense is going to be a pass first, run second. But why is it important that they develop a running game?
I mean, you have to have it. It takes some pressure off to Patrick Mahomes. He doesn't have to handle the ball every play, although you want your all-world quarterback to have the ball as much as possible. Being able to hand it off and get 4, 5, 6 yards, 7 yards without Patrick having to take a hit or something like that, I think is very important for Kansas City. And just staying on schedule. When you can run the football, you get in a second and shorts, opens up your playbook and gives Patrick Mahomes and those guys all of the plays to work with.
Okay, then the Chiefs have also made a move to bring in a defensive tackle. Don't even expect me to try to pronounce his first name. It's probably really easy, but I can't. In reading it, it's difficult. His last name is Tonga. He gets a 3-year deal worth $21 million. Yep. He's been with the Patriots. He's known as a guy that can get upfield and get pressure from the interior on the quarterback. As an old defensive linebacker, What do you think?
I like it, but I look at the numbers. Half a sack in the last 4 years. You know, when we consider guys pass rushers, especially as a defensive end, you want to see some numbers, some production. I think he's a beautiful pickup just as far as stopping the run, having a stopper in the middle next to Chris Jones. But I want to see some productiveness if we're going to call him a pass rusher.
Well, he might. I think he's good at getting pressures. Maybe he doesn't get sacks, but sometimes up the middle, just making a quarterback move his feet can be good, right? I
mean, that's wonderful, especially if you have that pressure off the edge, which I think comes to our next point, the draft pick. You know, getting a quality pass rusher, an edge rusher who can get home right now in under 3 seconds, really make guys like Chris Jones and Tonga's job a lot easier.
And then the Chiefs also are getting ready to go into the NFL draft. When you look at this football team, now that they've added a running back, now that they've added a defensive tackle, now that Travis Kelce's coming back, what are their biggest positions of need at the number 9 spot?
Well, we can stop talking about Jeremiah Love. You know, hopefully he has a beautiful career. It won't be here in Kansas City right now anyway, but I think getting that elite edge rusher will be critical. You know, we pay guys a lot of money. Quarterbacks first, guys to protect him, guys he gets the football, and the guys that can disrupt him. We need to get a disruptor. That way we can help those inside guys. And late in the season, we can have pressures and cause havoc with 4-man rushes.
Radio station from Denver called me as I was driving out here and said, hey, can you come on with us? And I said, you got 2 minutes because I'm driving out to do a live shot and I'm stuck in traffic. They said, why do you want to sign a has-been tight end? And they said, look, Travis Kelce's an unbelievable human being, a great story. He's been great for the NFL. He's been great for Kansas City, but he is on his last legs. There's no way he's going to have another 1,400-yard career. He's never going to be what he was. And so we talked about that a little bit. And then they asked me a little bit about what the Chiefs need to do at the draft position to get going with this. And my question is, are they close enough that they can help themselves in the draft to be able to build themselves into a playoff team? Because the folks in Denver believe the Chiefs are on the downward thing. They say, hey, what if Mahomes can't play for half the season? How are they going to be? I ask you, what do you think?
I absolutely think the Chiefs, they've already made some moves that can really get them back in a good position. They've got the running back secured. I think we got some young guys at the tackle position that we can develop, maybe get a guy a little bit later in the draft to back those guys up. But we get that edge rusher, now we're cooking, because this team really wasn't far off. There was a number of third downs that could change games later in the season, and Spags is still Spags. You know, he'll still get these guys in order, but you give him some weapons to go out there and really cause havoc for offenses around the league. I think Kansas City's a number 1, number 2 seed all over again.
Chiefs lose Hollywood Brown. I suspect that he will not be coming back, at least that's what everybody's saying. They're going to need to come up with another wide receiver. They're going to also have to come up with some defensive backs. Do they have enough defensive backs to play a game tomorrow?
Not right now. No. If the game was tomorrow, they'd have to go get some guys off the street. But again, having another pick, that 29th pick, would be a great position to get a guy who can go out there, cover in zone coverages, but also go out there and cause some havoc in man coverage. Again, Spag doesn't put guys in the really tough positions. That's one of his gifts. But you still need those guys to go out there, suit it up, and make those plays on Sunday.
They lose a cornerback who was like another quarterback on the field. Great cover guy on the interior, good on the outside, but one of the best slot corners there is. They lose him to free agency. They choose not to pay him. We saw him lose Justin Reed after 2 years ago.
Yeah.
He was like the quarterback on the back end. How important is it that they get a guy who can be a quarterback on the back end?
I mean, I think it's critical. I play with a guy named Eric Berge, a guy named Charles Woodson. And what they did was so special. They got guys lined up. Everybody was on the same page every single down. And then you just knew if the ball was up in the air, you got these guys behind us. They're going to make us right, and they're going to make a play.
Everybody focuses on the first-round picks, the high draft picks. At 29, if you do a good job, you can get guys that help you. We've seen them do it. A number of the guys that have been stars for this during these Super Bowl runs have been guys that were taken towards the end of the first round.
Yeah.
Here they are at 29.
I mean, believe it or not, Neal, there's 6, 7 other rounds. There's good football players that you find in every single round. But you might get lucky and find an undrafted free agent like, Green Bay did a few years ago.
Is it possible that this franchise is going to take another dip? We saw them you said it best. They were statistically, until Mahomes went down, statistically, they were right there in the upper middle part of the NFL. Statistically, they didn't have a very good record because they lost every close game. History and mathematics and probability tells you that will not continue. That next year, if they play the same way, if they play games close with that kicker, with that quarterback, with some of the people they've got on defense, they'll be able to win some of those games. Are they close, or are we fooling ourselves?
We got Patrick Mahomes at the helm. We have a chance. And for Kansas City, that's why they're going to really take their time, this training staff, this organization, making sure number 15 is healthy, making sure he's the guy we expect him to be, because as long as he's out there for the next 5, 10, I'll take him for the next 15 years, we got an opportunity to win.
Now, what did you do on your draft day? You came in as a free agent, but did you watch the draft? What did it mean to you?
I did. It was a tough day for me. I went through the first round, second round, obviously, and got some calls that I was going to be drafted later in the draft, and it just didn't happen. I went into Green Bay with a chip on my shoulder, and I made a couple people feel it.
So sometimes those are the guys you want, the guys who have something to prove. Last time I saw you was what, 2 weeks ago, I believe, or was it a week ago?
About a week ago.
There was a young man coming out of Rockhurst High School, has bounced around a little bit in college, ends up at Texas A&M, outside edge rusher, who ends up being the defensive player of the year in the SEC. Yep. Tell me about this young guy. What's his name?
Man, Cassius Howell, young fellow, man, went right here to Rockhurst. I've known him since a young kid. I've seen his game mature. I've seen him mature as a young man, as a person. And right now, they got him slated as about the 15th pick in the draft. Man, I would love to see Kansas City maybe come up, grab a guy like him, an elite edge rusher. You turn on the tape, you're looking at a guy that gets off the ball right now. You're looking at a guy that makes a difference. But he's fast. We need that explosiveness to really, if we can come off the edge and get that pressure immediately, we got guys inside like Chris Jones and the guys we pay big money. They'll make a difference as well to make the game a lot easier.
That is the one thing that I think that they have missed the last couple of years. Yeah. They have not had dominant outside rushers. And it's almost impossible to win a Super Bowl unless you got guys on the edge that can make the other quarterback lower his numbers.
Yep.
He comes in, these guys late in the playoffs, these star quarterbacks, they've been doing magical stuff. It's remarkable what a concerted pass rush, get guys at him up the middle, guys from the outside. It turns a great quarterback into an average quarterback. They got to do that.
I mean, you've seen it last year. Patrick Mahomes, we know how special he is. When he has to move his feet, when he has to get off his spot, he's just not the same guy. When you're getting hit in the front, in the back of the head, you're just not the same guy. And I think Kansas City has to get a couple of those guys, a couple staple pieces on the edge that'll stay here and play here for the next few years and make it tough for offenses.
Would you like to talk a little college basketball?
Let's do it.
I know you like college basketball. Big 12 tournament gets underway this week at the T-Mobile Center. Of course, Arizona, the top seed, they are a team that can win the national championship. Houston's a team that played for the national championship, had a lead late in the second half of the game, and Kelvin Sampson's guys could not hold off Florida. Give Florida credit. They won that game. Houston is so well coached. They have a system. They don't have a lot of turnover. Guys go there and stay for whatever reason. Maybe they're cheating. Maybe they just no. I'm just saying that because in this day and age, I don't think that's it. I think Kelvin Sampson recruits at a different level than everybody else. Kansas is number 3, a number 3 seed. Kansas finally, after 2 down years, or maybe even you could say 3 kind of off years, they look like they're Kansas again. They look like they could beat anybody at any time if they play well.
I mean, they got some firepower. They got a young kid they're really liking, a freshman, but they've played well without him. They got a good team, a good unit, some veteran guys that have come in and some transfers, I guess we should call them. these guys are playing together with gel, but the one thing I see when I watch KU, they're playing hard, they're playing together.
You can't underline that enough. You've got to play hard if you're going to go deep. It doesn't matter your talent. If you've got a couple of dogs on the team, effort-wise, it just kills you. It bothered a little bit this year. Darren Peterson is such a wonderful talent. Everybody says he's going to be the number one player taken in the draft. And I got a little tired of his minutes being the biggest story, because I thought a lot of the guys were playing well. The team was doing well for the most part. They'd win a game, and you're like, I don't really want to hear about Darren Peterson. I want to hear about everything. I want to hear about Darren, but I also want to hear about all the other guys that are going on. You've been on football teams. You've been around sports. You play basketball.
Oh, yeah.
How do you think it is when you go out and bust your rear end and all the media wants to talk about is the guy that only played 18 minutes?
Well, that's what we call a distraction. And generally on teams that have success, you have very few distractions. So hopefully KU can figure out a way to put some of this behind them. But unless this kid comes out and plays those minutes, plays consistently, I think that's going to be a question mark going into the draft. We see the issues with load management in the NBA. A lot of teams don't want to deal with that. Hopefully he can come out, be the consistent player that we know he can be, but show everybody that.
I'll tell you what, the people that I know over there who deal with him like him. Yeah. And I don't think they would like him. I don't think that they would speak well of him if they thought he was faking it or just doing this because he didn't want to get injured. Those people have had his back the whole time.
Yeah, and that says a lot. The people around that they're every single day, they understand these players, and you don't want to judge because it is a business now, even at the college level, but you do want to put your best foot forward, especially for your future career.
Kansas State comes in as the 15th seed in this tournament. They've had just another second straight really disappointing season. Clearly, I mean, Bill Self's teams haven't looked like Bill Self's teams. Yeah. This new era where it's a revolving door, and you're giving this guy this much money and that guy this much money, and people in the locker room know it. I mean, I would think it would be. It is just made to fail, in my opinion.
And to be honest, it's hard to create culture that way. It's hard to keep guys. It's hard to keep guys happy, playing together, bought in. Obviously with the NIL, I think these guys deserve the reward and of their hard work. But the reality is, for the coaches, it's a much tougher task. You got to have guys on board, and you got to retain guys, which means you got to develop them.
NIL isn't the reason that this stuff's happening. The problem is the transfer portal, and that was decided by a judge. Yeah. And I don't necessarily disagree that players ought to be able to transfer, but you got players, moms and dads, uncles, agents, who are calling coaches saying, hey, you like Dezman. You were recruiting Dezman last offseason. We're at Christmas now. He's played for a month. He doesn't like this new guy, so keep us in mind at the end of the year. This has been going on, and that's a problem.
I mean, it's a huge problem. It's still a game. There's still an education involved. You still want to go to the university that's important to you. But I think for these young guys, you got to go somewhere where you can develop into a pro. This is not the end of the road if you're a collegiate athlete. Although they're making good money, they're getting paid handsomely, you want to be a professional. So you got to go to the organization, to the team that can develop you and get you prepared to be that.
One of the neat stories this basketball season is the University of Missouri. Missouri got beat handily by the University of Kansas. They got handled easily by the University of Kansas down at the T-Mobile Center. That didn't look good. And then they went over and played in the bragging rights series against Illinois, and they get utterly humiliated. Got beat by more than 40 points. And look, Illinois is really good, and they got a great coach over there, and Brad Underwood, who played at K-State, used to be an assistant at K-State. Look, Illinois is really good, and they can embarrass people, but it looked like Mizzou was going to have another embarrassing year. That is not the case. They end up as the 8th seed, I believe, in the SEC tournament. They have beaten a lot of people, and Dennis Gates, I think, both last year and this year, has proven that he can coach, and I think it's a good lesson. As a player, you go to practice, you keep working. What you are first semester is not necessarily what you're going to be second semester.
Yeah, I mean, these guys are developing, and that's the beauty of college sports right now. We saw it in college football. You never know which team is going to be. You get a good roster together, you put $20 million together, you'll have a good team. And that's what college basketball is seeing right now. Some of these teams we thought would struggle, they put some money together late in the year, and they bought themselves a decent team.
All right, World Baseball Classic.
Let's do it.
I mean, my wife and I were watching television the other night, and she goes, what is that? And I said, that's the base we were out for dinner on Friday. And it was the first games of the World Baseball Classic. It was the United States and Brazil, and down in Houston. And she's like, where are they? Is that a replay of the World Series? What is that? Why is that? That guy's got like a parrot on his shoulder in the. I go, that's the Brazilian team. What do you think about this?
Oh, I love it. I love it. You know, I grew up playing baseball. It was my best sport. And I fell in love with the game, the nuance, the excitement. You know, I know a lot of old school folks that love baseball. They don't like the celebration, but I think this is an opportunity to see it at its purest form, to see the excitement, the love, to see these guys play for not only their country, but play with guys that are their brothers, their family. This is the baseball in a nutshell. I enjoy it. Every single year it comes on, I try to catch it, try to get my daughters to watch a little bit too, but it's mostly just me.
There's Bobby Witt Jr. playing, and my wife goes, that's Bobby. What's Bobby doing? I go, he's playing, and he came back and was talking about just being around these guys, these other players. You don't know them during the season. Sometimes they play in the other league. You don't see them that often, but you're with these guys and you become friends. You learn stuff from them. A young guy like Bobby was when he first played in the Classic is like, I just watch them, their preparation, their mental. I mean, you see them and you can see 30 minutes before first pitch and they're already in. They got the game face on. They're back in the clubhouse. They might be grabbing a glass of water or something, but the bottom line is their mind is on the game, on the pitcher they're going to face, and what they got to do to be successful. And he came back and was able to incorporate that into his game a little bit. I think it's kind of fun. Vinny is playing for Italy. I think the only thing, and he ate pizza, so that made him eligible for Italy. And he is so excited to do that. Salvi's playing for his home country, Venezuela. And I do think as long as nobody gets hurt, it's like the greatest thing of all time.
Beautiful. I mean, it really is. It's the purity of the sport. They're playing for the love. They're playing for their country. And by all means, they're playing some great baseball.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. You said it. Anybody who wears that Team USA jersey in any sport, curling, suddenly we're like, what the hell's going on with curling? We got to get a better curling team. Why is Canada beating us? Let's start a fight. Do they fight in curling?
I don't think so.
But, I mean, you put Team USA jersey on them, and people watch anything. I miss the Olympics, and the World Baseball Classic's pretty exciting. And unlike the All-Star Game, although the All-Star Game this year
they brought it back,
was a lot more interesting.
I agree.
Because the kid from was it San Antonio, the door?
Wimby.
He said, okay, I'm playing. You want to play half-ass or whatever? I'm playing. So next thing you know, everybody's there knocking people down. They were being nice about it, but they were playing hard, and that's
Absolutely.
what we got to see.
Absolutely, that competitive edge. Once you can trigger these guys' as competitive edge, everything else will happen on its own. And I think the NBA did a phenomenal job of doing that. Wimbyana, young Ant Edwards out there in Minnesota. Yeah. These guys set the tone, and guys had to follow.
I think the Pro Bowl should be all of the guys who don't get in games.
Yeah.
And Dezman is a free agent who's only on special teams, and he cheap shot at some guys, so Andy Reid doesn't trust him. Let's have him as our representative, and they'll go out there and headhunt. Wouldn't that be fun?
That's football. You'll see a football game. There's some physicality.
Very good. He's Dezman Moses. We are so lucky to have him every Sunday on our Price Chopper Game Day shows as we break down and preview the Chiefs games. It's a lot of fun, and we had a great time today here on KC Sports Tonight. We got to go. We've got a bunch of more coming up at 6 o'clock on Travis Kelce and Company. That's coming up on KCTV 5 News at 6. Until then, have a great one.